Hi there, Dario Ponissi here, and...
Romana Maiori here. Hi, ready to play with us?
I'd say so. Didn't you see? They all brought their guitars with them.
It's gonna be another great joint adventure.
Yes, in fact, our 10th lesson marks a fundamental moment on our journey from zero to hero. Today we'll conclude our first approach to the study of the guitar by learning the final two minor natural chords placed in the first area of the fretboard.
These chords use both the bar, right?
They do, so we'll talk about that too. Plus more arpeggio and more strumming.
All this and then some
In a moment. Okay, I began this way because I received some questions through the mail from people who asked me to talk about octaves. Okay, so what are octaves? I'm quite sure that you already heard this word somewhere while you were studying guitar or maybe talking with friends and things like that. Okay, try to remember with me. Last time we spoke about chromatic scale. The chromatic scale is the scale that basically puts every half tone in a succession. Just in case you might want to go with me, we start with the 6th string. Then by pressing the first fret, I go into F, then F sharp, G, G sharp, and so on. Okay, so if you remember the chromatic scale, we can talk about octaves. Why? Because by adding all these half tones, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A on the 5th string, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D on the 4th string, D sharp, we reach another E. Okay, so right now I went through this through this E note, raising half a tone at a time, I reached another E. Okay, so this interval, I don't know how you want to call it, this space between one E and the next E, which is of course higher, is called an octave. Octave comes from ottava, which is Italian. Ottava comes from Latin octavus and so on. It basically means 8, 1/8, ottava, no? It's something like that. Which means that basically we count the notes, for instance starting from E, F, G, then I go into A, and then B, C, D, E. So it's 8 notes. Altogether they make an octave. So this is basically the meaning of the octave. If I had to continue on the chromatic scale, I will go from this E that I find on the 4th string, 2nd fret. If I continue, going to the 3rd string, then to the 2nd string, by the same process, I will reach another E, which is the open string of E, of course, the 1st string. So I will complete another octave. This tells me that the guitar, the notes included between the 6th string and the 1st string include 2 octaves. If I had to continue, I can actually go until the 12th fret, which is another octave. On the flat top guitar, you also find it by checking the double dot on the side or on the front of the fretboard. Where you find the double dot right here, you will know that that is an octave. On a classical guitar, usually you don't find dots, or you only find dots on the side of the fretboard. So, in a way, the flat top guitar is easier as a reference, let's say. So this will tell you that we have 3 octaves until here. If I continue, since we are at it, let's see what happens. From here, this is an E. I continue with F, F sharp, G, which we'll also see marked by another dot. Then we'll have G sharp, A sharp, B, and we end with a C. So in a way, we have 3 octaves and a half and a little bit on the flat top guitar. On the classical guitar, usually the fretboard stops at B. So basically it marks a 3.5 octave range, let's call it that way. So this tells you that the guitar is a very versatile instrument because it can cover 3.5 octaves, which is a lot of notes. You can use many notes included in this fretboard. So I hope this will answer to the questions that were put through the mail to me, to Joint Adventure, and then we can start talking about something else in a moment. Arpeggio time. I began this part of the lesson showing you an arpeggio in D, using a chord of D. If you notice, I use basically a down-only arpeggio, which we studied some lessons ago. A down-only arpeggio is if you use your fingers, I go from the 4th string, and then each finger plays a string. Okay. Another arpeggio, of course, is the opposite, going from down to up, which will be 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string, and 4th string. Okay, this kind of arpeggio is interesting if you play really fast, actually. I just want to show you, and then you can practice. It can become a nice atmosphere, like an introduction to something. We also studied the up to down and the opposite, basically coming back, up and down arpeggio, which was okay. This can go on forever. Very nice, isn't it? Okay, so we studied these 3 kinds of arpeggio, but there are, of course, many different variations that you can even invent, you can even create on your own. For instance, today we will start thinking of alternating arpeggio. In what way? For instance, we can take the chord of D and play 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 1st string. Again, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 1st. Okay, let's do once again. 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 1st. Okay, and the result will be something like this. Very soothing in a way. If you do it for a short while, you might even hypnotize somebody. You want to try? I don't know. Anyway, so basically we want to try to widen our knowledge, our possibilities in arpeggio, because later on it will be a very handy thing to know. Okay, so we will try a special kind of arpeggio. Because we apply it to another thing that we need to know, and that is the bar. What is the bar? And you might say, yes, let's go for a beer or something like that. No, the bar, it comes from French this time, not from Italian. The French word is barre, which means with a bar. What you do is you use a finger, the forefinger, and place it across all the strings, for instance, in the 3rd position. Okay. And then you apply the thumb in the back with a certain decision, with a certain strength, shall we say, and try to play all the strings. Okay? This is the idea. The bar is important because later on we will build many chords with the usage of this device. Actually, we already started doing it with the B minor and C minor last time. When we spoke about these two chords, we said that you can also use the bar, and I also told you I will tell you more about the bars later. So here I am doing it. Okay, let's try to do a little practice on this bar by placing the middle finger over the forefinger so that it becomes a bit easier. Okay, and then doing this kind of a strange arpeggio. Just from up to down. Now we'll try to move the bar one fret back. So we will do first on the third position and then on the second fret. Okay. 3, 4. Okay, something like this, huh? All right, so now we try one more practice, always using the bar from the third position. We will go third fret, second fret, then fourth fret, and I go back to third fret. In other words, okay, if you do this faster, we go into some kind of almost jazzy atmosphere in a way. So let's try this. Always this down only arpeggio. 3, 4. Change to the fourth. And third. If you practice in this way with lots of take your time, basically you want to take your time, practice with a lot of ease and without rushing, in a short while you will develop the necessary strength, the necessary pressure capacity to do the bars without getting tired. One important thing is that you do not tense the wrist. You do not have to tense the wrist because this will, otherwise it will create problems. And the other thing is also that you do not apply too much strength in this area of the palm. So try this practice on your own, and then if something goes wrong, write me and I will try to do something for you. Stay tuned for the second part of the lesson, and we'll see you later.